my sexy Dexter fans, and welcome to my weekly review of Dexter. Spoiler alert as we go forward. And by the very end of this review, I'm going to talk in serious depth about the upcoming episodes trailer that we got for the last 3 episodes, okay? As if my mind can even wrap itself around that reality. So next weekend, we're off from Dexter and left to try and contemplate our lives and associate ourselves with what's in front of us as we die inside in the wait for what's to come. But yeah, so I will wait until, I will try and wait until the very end of this review to discuss what we see is coming for the next few episodes, and why this gives me some hope for where the season is going, but I am still maddeningly frustrated about a few issues, and I think that they will resonate with some, if not many of you. So as we go forward, let me try to recap what we saw tonight. This episode wasn't as frustrating to me as the last episode, at least from my perspective, but there are still some things at work that really just grinded my gears and that are not sitting right with me, and that make it really difficult as we go into the end game, because I am trying desperately to sympathize with Dexter. I mean, you know, watching Breaking Bad, for instance, at the same time as this, you know, it's easy to be pitted against the protagonist, Walter White, because he's literally screwing everyone up and down the butt, and it's just, you know, it's quite clear for those of you who are watching the show. But with Dexter, you know, we've always felt connected to him and have experienced this bond throughout the years, and we sympathize and we see ourselves in him, etc., etc. But in this episode, he is just like, is he 15 years old? I mean, I don't know how this course of action that he is going to take with Hannah and Harrison, I don't know how it is that he's even beginning to believe that this is a viable option for his future. Or maybe it's just the dramatic irony of us in the audience being like, well, we know that Dexter's gonna die in the end, and assuming that things are, you know, going to take a tragic trajectory. Maybe that's just because all of us are like, this is going to end terribly and in a way that is going to hurt indescribably for the centuries to come. Luckily, we won't be alive for centuries unless technology seriously improves, so we won't have to live with the pain that long. But at any rate, it's just... And the fact of the matter is that I actually didn't even struggle with specifically Hannah as much this episode, and many of you guys know that I have not taken too kindly to her character, into the romance that she and Dexter share. It really just does not jive with me, but I wasn't so much frustrated with her as I was with Dexter and the way that he's trying to handle this whole scenario of securing the dream of Argentina with Hannah, which I thought had been effectively laid to rest last season, you know. And the fact of the matter is that he's just completely screwing Debra over. He is not even remotely in the slightest considering Debra in what he's doing, in planting this serial killer in her house who actually tried to kill her once upon a time, and in completely neglecting the feelings that she has had for him in the past by, you know, flinging his relationship in her face, and just assuming that he's going to be able to find a way to keep, you know, Hannah on the DL, and etc., etc., and then they're kind of like, okay, well, we're gonna have to get you out of here, but how about I come with you? I mean, in fact, in the discussion that Dexter and Hannah have in the episode at Deborah's house, Hannah is telling him about how, you know, like, yeah, I'm just hanging out, but is this even remotely sustainable, you know? And she's talking about how she is longing for a life elsewhere. And now the scene's getting kind of mixed up in my head, because I don't know if she was the one who, like, recommended that Dexter and Harrison join her, but I think that it was kind of Dexter who is the main, you know, proponent to this brilliant concept that somehow everything is gonna be all peachy keen if they, you know, just make like a couple of fugitives and suck this young innocent toddler into the fray of their like running from the law, and just like, how? I mean, is this really happening? Like, I'd heard a lot of people, you know, in the hiatus between the 7th season and this season, saying like, oh, you know, what if like they just end up taking off, whoever they would be. I mean, for a time there wasn't really knowledge as to whether or not Hannah was returning to the scene, but people were like, oh, they're gonna run away, and etc., etc. And the fact that this is even being entertained is just kind of baffling to me, and I just hate the way that Deborah's pretty much like rolled over on her back in just complete submission to all these things going on around her, and how Dexter, like when he brings Hannah to her house and she's like, okay, yeah, we just let ourselves in, alrighty. And then, you know, when they're actually having a one-on-one discussion about things, and Dexter's like, I just need you to do as I ask, and etc., etc. And just that line pissed me off so much. It's like, are you completely daft? The sister whom you were so desperate to save and redeem and have back in your life. This woman who has meant so much to you throughout your entire existence. And you really don't give a damn about what any of this does to her and how she's going to be implicated in these rash decisions. Like, it's just pitiable to me. I want to be jiving with Dexter. I want to feel for him and to be on his side, but I can't possibly right now because he is just not thinking. And you know, my take on this doesn't even directly have to do with the fact that I'm not a fan of the romance, which, you know, that is a whole nother matter. It's just the fact of the matter is that this is a genuinely not intelligent plan. And you know, it's all kind of pointing to Dexter dealing with the messy side of his humanity. He's lost a lot of the women in his life, from his mother to Rita to Lumen, and all of these women who have been of great import to him. And so it's as if, you know, he's clinging on to Hannah with an even greater vengeance, as if all that baggage has pushed him to this place where he's afraid of letting anyone go and losing anyone else, you know, beyond whom he's already lost and can't get back. But that's still, like, I still fail to see how he justifies to himself exactly what he's doing. And it just hurts me that Debra has so little of a voice in this. She's virtually been silenced in the midst of this and is just kind of letting herself be walked all over. I kind of wish that she would just blow up in Dexter's face so he could at least see that there's some sense of consequence in what he's doing. I mean, when he brings up the whole, you know, Argentina dream with Hannah and just kind of like, yes, let's go, you know, and it's more about him focusing on how to explain things to Harrison and dealing with that, and he doesn't even mention Debra. There's not a single mention made of her in this critical, life-altering decision. It just baffles me. Like, I thought that the first half of the season solidified the fact that the two of them cannot and do not want to live without one another, and Dexter fleeing the country essentially spells that out. And it just bothers me immensely that he doesn't even stop to consider just what this might do to Debra, who has, you know, she's been trying to withdraw from him in the past couple of episodes. She's so withdrawn in so many respects, just trying desperately to find herself, you know, what with considering becoming a detective again at Homicide. And she can't even bring herself to a place of going back to, you know, everything that she's once known that, you know, had made her feel secure and self-assured and actualized. You know, she can't even get herself to take this opportunity that is literally being handed to her by Batista because she's been so wildly compromised by Dexter. And so in that sense, I mean, maybe, who knows, Dexter sees, you know, this whole relocation and starting the life with Hannah as a way of protecting Debra from himself, but it doesn't seem that that's part of his intention. It's just the lack of intentionality about Debra that is just really, really irksome to me. And I mean, I hope and I pray, and it would seem in the preview for next week that they're, you know, this dynamic might change, but it's just, it disappoints me immeasurably that, you know, the entire focus is on just this dream and this new life, and which is completely and utterly implausible. And it's just kind of sad to me too. Like, I do miss the old serial killer days that Dexter had when he was romping around on his own and making his own kills. I mean, I think that things are going in a genuinely interesting direction with the brain surgeon now, and I really like how that situation's being played out, actually. I'll say more about that, but, you know, basically it's just, why? Why is this where things are going? I don't know. I don't trust it. I don't like it. It's not going to end well, and my bad feelings about where things are going are only increasing in abundance. So, what do you guys think? What do you even think and feel about the situation at hand? It just baffles me. Dexter's got dicks for brains. That is what is going up in his noggin. And that is all I have to say on the matter. I don't know how that's anatomically possible, but that is really the only thing that can explain this brilliantly thought out decision. Yeah, but as I was saying, I miss the days when Dexter actually thought and planned and like was managing to, you know, be like, you know, there's the villain who's always one step ahead, but Dexter seemed to kind of like step along and join in the dance, and it's just kind of, you know, regarding some of the other interactions in the episode, so Debra and Quinn are kind of coming back into the picture, and I'm not sure exactly what the writers intend to do with the two of them. I mean, you know, they shared that little pop kiss, and there's just kind of that sudden moment of like, I think there's a sense of nostalgia that really was breathed to life between the two of them, and it kind of was a relief to me. I mean, I think of that scene where Debra goes to talk to Jamie about what happened with Cassie, as Debra and Quinn are trying to investigate this Oliver Saxon dude, and you know, basically Jamie's talking about the relationship that Cassie and Oliver shared with one another, and how he was kind of, you know, he was kind of clingy in a sense, but how, you know, everyone deserves to have someone like worship or adore them like that, and Debra just kind of, you know, has this, makes this bitter smile of like, yeah, I wish my brother actually cared and considered me and what's going on. I mean, she's just had to completely disengage herself because she feels helpless, you know, and I wish that she would just throw in Dexter's face what he's doing to her and just be honest. That is all that I want for her, but alas, I am not she, and I can understand why she's in the place where she is, and it sucks, and I hate it, and I hope it changes very much. But at any rate, going back to Debra and Quinn, so, you know, they're kind of working together, and you know, there really is that sense of the old times. Quinn's been alluding to the fact that Jamie's emotionally distant. I mean, they've never had the ideal relationship, or one that's really been particularly compelling on screen. And so, you know, they share that little kiss, and it's like, ooh, that just happened, you know? And I really like their dynamic. I do. I like Quinn a lot this season, actually. It's been a breath of fresh air to finally see him doing something, you know, something of some greater significance, and something that's really tied in with the core characters. And then, yeah, what else? So kind of the scenes with Harrison are interesting, of course, and, you know, they're kind of playing up the whole attraction that Harrison seems to have to Hannah. And a lot of people are arguing that the woman that he was drawing in the picture when the marshal showed up and told Dex, you know, they're going to remove the protective custody because, or custody, the police surveillance at the apartment because the Hannah threat was likely over. You know, that picture that he's drawing, a lot of people are saying that that was actually Rita. And then there are others who think that it was Hannah, and that the writers are kind of just playing up this whole like, oh, well, Hannah must, you know, be the queen of all because Dexter is so, you know, magnetized to her just as much as Harrison is. But I mean, I think it might have been Rita, because Harrison knows full well who Hannah is, you know, so it's like when the marshal asked that question of him, if it was Hannah, you know, it seems like, you know, just being a child, he'd respond as such. And then, of course, Dexter's like, oh, this might not go so well, but then, you know, at the last second he says it's his mom. And he said, you know, earlier that he wished that Hannah could be his mom, and, you know, I was kind of laughing as I was like, well, that escalated quickly, but, you know, he is a kid, so they're kind of fearless in that respect. They don't see, you know, why they can't marry who they want and, you know, have like 10 wives. I mean, I used to babysit this kid who said he was going to marry me and my best friend, so, you know, I don't think that's how it's gonna play out, buddy, but, you know, you're a pretty brave soul. But at any rate, so, yeah, it's hard to say what's going on there. I mean, I'm glad that he and Debra got just, you know, the slightest little scene. But I'm surprised that he doesn't see, you know, Jamie as more of a mother figure to him. But I mean, I guess it's the blonde vixens, you know, the blonde damsels who draw in the Morgan men. What else? You know, we still kind of have Masuka lurking about and his daughter, you know, in the internship in Miami Metro. You know, what's still weird to me is that, and I think this is going to come forward more in the upcoming episodes, is that, you know, for this season, I was expecting that there was going to be a huge, you know, tension between Dexter and Miami Metro, but it's more been the situation with the brain surgeon and kind of like some peripheral stuff, like with Elway and Vogel and things of that nature. So, but I think, perhaps, you know, we'll see if Debra does in fact return to the Force, and, you know, what happens there. But I really want to see people in Miami Metro getting clued on to Dexter. That's something that I'm really dying to see, and that I think would really contribute to the end game, and I feel is kind of an essential piece of it, because this has been the environment and the landscape, and these faces have just been in the game for so long. It wouldn't make sense for them not to be implicated in the ending in a big way. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen there, but let me say a few things about the whole brain surgeon revelation. Originally, I thought I was going to be pretty, you know, underwhelmed by the reveal of, you know, the possible reveal of Oliver Saxon as the brain surgeon, but I think that it's played out in an interesting way, and that they really give attention to the way that Vogel feels about, you know, discovering that her son survived that fire and is still out there. And, you know, we get a little interesting look into her backstory, and, you know, it didn't play out exactly as I expected, but I'm willing to jive with it, and it looks like the intensity is really going to be amped up in the next few episodes as well. So that gives me a lot of hope. And finally, a sense of momentum, something that we've really been lacking. You know, where is the sense of peril, the sense of Dexter being closed in on? And I'm glad to see that we're finally getting that sense of this, you know, this idealism and the dream, and just kind of this place of false stasis is starting to be challenged, and, you know, the pillars are starting to be shaken and the foundation cracking. I mean, that to me is what I want to be seeing. And yeah, so what did you guys think of this episode? Do you think that this was a step in the right direction? I mean, again, this season has been so very different, and I'm still feeling kind of a lack of inner monologues on Dexter's part. Like, there's less of the, you know, the old wit and the charm that he used to exude, and maybe that was all kind of tied to his old sense of monstrousness, and he just kind of, you know, could scoff at the world because he was not part of it. And now that he's exploring his humanity, he's more implicated in things, and it's harder for him to be introspective, which I think is evidenced by his delightful choice to make off to Argentina. Yeah, so I do, you know, kind of feel a little bit sore in that respect, you know, but I mean, I guess we'll see where the next few episodes go, and at that rate, let me talk briefly about the promos. Okay, so that is what really got me amped up and in the zone about this business, because, you know, we see that Oliver Saxon's really kind of a character. I never really noticed before, because they brought him in so subtly. It was really kind of strange and offhanded, but, you know, he's got a really nice kind of serial killer stare. You know, he's got the look of deadness, and this kind of, like, you know, there's this interesting nature about him, I guess. I wouldn't endeavor to say that he's the most compelling villain that the series has had. But again, I'm really compelled by his relationship to Vogel and the way that's going to unfold. And, you know, I think that Vogel is perfectly justified in telling Dexter to back up off of her business. Because, you know, she's finding that she has a son, you know, and that issue's kind of paralleled with what would Dexter do about Harrison and what did Harry do about Dexter. And, you know, so they're kind of making some connections and things like that, which... It's nice to see things pick up in that respect and the brain surgeon returning to the central focus. Yeah, and so we see that things are gonna get pretty gnarly because number one, Elway does not let up, and I think it's really interesting that the whole relationship between him and Debra turned so antagonistic. I mean, you know, it started from this innocent crush and they kind of had this cool friendship between them, but I think that's being overshadowed now by Debra's return to a friendship with Quinn, not to mention the fact that Elway is just kind of a bit of a doucher, and so is Dexter. I mean, just the guys in the show are just kind of douching it up ever so slightly right now, in my eyes, and so, you know, he's not letting up on the whole Hannah situation. And Debra's, you know, again, she's kind of rolled over on her back about that. The whole scene with her and Hannah over dinner was just interesting. I mean, it's like, if I was Hannah, I don't know that I could be, or I mean, if I was Debra, I don't know that I could be so complacent, and I kind of wanted to see more of like a about things, but I don't know. It's really strange to me how Debra is taking this whole situation, and I think that part of it is her just trying to back up from things enough to still maintain some sense of love for Dexter, because she doesn't want to fully let him go, but how can she bring him any closer in these circumstances, you know? So yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride from here, and we see that like the whole, you know, the next episode is called Goodbye Miami, but I don't think they're successfully gonna hop the freighter, so to speak. And looks like there's a lot of action coming up, that Elway's gonna be closing in on Dexter, and people are getting shot at, and there's a lot of, I mean, everyone's just kind of turned on everybody. And I'm looking forward to see how, you know, all of this gets connected and how the energy and the tension really builds. It's good to see that we're finally getting a sense of peril and of endgame, but just the way this whole Argentina thing coming back spells out nothing short of a disastrous ending. I'm not saying that it's going to be bad per se. I hope and pray that it's good and that it's devastating in a good way, in a way that's, you know, poetic and true to the show, but it's just like, why is this happening? I just, I want to see Deb stronger. I want to see Dexter and Debra, like, I want to see a return to that dynamic that they had before. And we finally see in the preview that there is a hug shared between them. Guess how many seasons it's been since they last freaking did that? It's been 2. It's been a couple of years, and I've been waiting on this. So I am just really anxious to see Dexter return to a place of thinking, to see him realize that this Elysian vision is, you know, not going to come to anything substantial. I mean, for him to see that this is really a dystopia, and I don't know, I feel we're just on the cusp of something new and frightening, and I'm excited. I'm excited and I'm scared and I hate that this is coming to an end, and I just thank you guys so much for sticking with me through all of this, and I have so many other thoughts, but I've got a jet, so I love you guys. I'm sorry I haven't been able to respond to inbox messages and comments. I'm back in school and all that crazy jazz, but feel free to keep in touch and I'll do my best to respond to whatever I can. You guys are amazing, and thanks for hearing me out. We'll see where this goes. I don't know what I want, and I don't know what I'm gonna get. So I'm just kind of wide open and just saying, Dex, you got some thinking to do, and I don't think it's going to go easy for you. And I don't want it to, because you're kind of being an idiot right now, and I just want to see him come to a place of realizing the consequence of what's going on, and everything with Vogel is going to be scintillating, and with her son, and man, this is taking some very, very crazy twists, so we'll see where this goes. Take care, you guys, and I'll be back before you know it.